Okay, I will just phrase what Ben said.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We are now being escorted off of the premises, both press, spectators, anyone else. Frankly, no one here is left to document whatever might go down at Hamilton Hall, as we are now being told to leave the premises. No one is outside. Everyone is barricaded inside of their dorms here in the lawn outside of Hamilton Hall. We're now being escorted off the premises by NYPD. I'm not sure where they're going to put us, but I don't think we have any reporters anymore that are outside of Hamilton Hall.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the amount of people I see around me right now with student press on their backs or on stickers of whatever kind. Someone in the crowd here was saying, who is going to document this if they're not going to let us stay? And I think I just want to leave listeners with that.
All right.
I'm so sorry to interrupt again. I had just asked a couple of officials, including, I think, school officials as well as NYPD officials, who exactly will document this. And they said, or rather, will anyone be here to document this? And they simply said, not right now.
Our correspondent Perry spoke to someone and convinced a police officer to escort us simply across the street to get to the radio station, which we have been locked out of for the last 3 hours, again with no kind of preparation to be outside for any amount of time. All the while, mainstream media was being let onto the scene. I don't know if that was some kind of a direction from the university or from the NYPD, but student journalists were not afforded this same luxury of being able to go through the barricades. There was pretty much a free flow of mainstream media journalists who were able to cross the barricades, and student journalists simply could not.
Yeah, and I just, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent from that, but we have just received confirmation of something that we had already speculated on, but confirmation that many of those that have been taken away by the police in buses are Columbia students. We have received confirmation of that from student sources and from our own journalists, who once again are Columbia students here. And I also just wanted to state again, I know Ale and I were talking about the media construction that has been done by both the media and the administration here, that those in Hamilton Hall were not students. And though we can't confirm that every single person in Hamilton Hall had a Columbia ID, we do know for sure, and we can independently confirm that there were students in that building. So that media construction and that construction by admin is just false.
That's right, Macy, and that's exactly the construction that it is apparently receiving on CNN right now. And to that, many of the sources that have confirmed that the people on those buses were students are peers. These are people who have seen these students in classrooms, people who have seen them on campus, that have perhaps lived on the same, dormitory floors and so on. I'm sure it brings no joy to students to be reporting on their peers being loaded into NYPD correctional buses. And so, any implication that the occupiers of Hamilton Hall were not students is a serious knock on the students' ability to recognize and see their own peers.
Absolutely. It's very misleading. And I just wanted to mention again that we have now seen our peers being carted away on correction buses twice. So once it was 108 of them, now we don't have confirmation, but there is a chance that it's an even larger number.
Awesome. Yeah, how do I even introduce this? Hey, welcome everybody. It's the Fruitless Patreon. I got Josh Boerman from Worst of All Possible Worlds here.
Hello.
This is kind of like, I don't know, I'm not really doing like emergency episodes on Fruitless, but I felt like I should address the protests. The campus protests right now, partially just because I need an outlet, because there hasn't been any protests near me thus far. I hope that changes. So I've just kind of been cooped up staring at my phone for 24 hours and getting really fucking mad. So I thought Josh and I could yell for an hour.
We're gonna hoot. We're gonna holler.
We're gonna hoot. We're gonna holler. Oh man. How closely were you following everything that happened last night at Columbia?
Last night I was honestly, so fun thing is I got laid off yesterday. So if I am being perfectly fucking honest, last night I was drinking a lot and singing karaoke.
Okay.
And then on the way back from that, I sort of checked what was going on with the news. And then this morning, of course, was when it really came in that like the entire encampment had been successfully cleared out by the NYPD. They deployed all of New York's finest technology, the LRADs and the fucking pepper spray, which they claim to have not used because they're the NYPD and they lie about everything.
No,
yeah,
way.
I know, cops lying, right? Crazy. And so, yeah, I do not have like a personal connection to the protests. I was not participating in the protests at Columbia, but I do have a few friends who are Columbia grads, as well as a current friend who's a Columbia student who has been involved in those protests. So I would say I've been following it, not at a distance, but not closely either, just sort of as one of those things that is an act of solidarity and protest in the United States, which is something that is very difficult to get people to honestly do in this country. So I've watched it with quite a bit of admiration and also horror when I saw what happened last night.
Yeah, I totally what you're saying about it being it's so hard to get Americans to do solidarity.
Yeah.
That when it happens, it brings tears, to my eyes while it happens because it just. I don't know. Yeah, this last so last night I was doing nothing. I had a free evening, and somebody had mentioned I started seeing posts from a couple people that I am mutuals with that are at Columbia, and they were like, "Uh-oh, shit's going down." And then somebody shared the link to WKCR, Columbia Student Radio, and so I just listened to that.
Were they just broadcasting from the scene?
Yeah, so they,
cool.
There was like, a handful of them. They were all just like, reporting on it. It was just like, you could clearly can tell just these like 20-year-olds, right, that are doing, I don't know, they're doing journalism in the middle of a war zone. It fucking sounds like, it's pretty harrowing to listen to. And yeah, I mean, that was where, you got to hear a lot of what happened. That was just fucking insane. So they had like a couple reporters, and I wish I knew their names, that they were like running around campus trying to get like they had received a shelter in place order, but weren't even told the NYPD was coming. They were just like said shelter in place, lock up, and you could be some sort of disciplinary action if you don't. And, as NYPD starts coming in, these reporters are like asking the cops, asking people, where should we go? Because they keep trying to go to the dorms, and the dorms are then shut off. They have security outside. There's a scene outside of like every dorm they pass by where there's like people begging to be let in, and the security guards not being letting them in. And so, yeah, I mean, just listening to them go from like every building and just reporting, like, don't know what's going to happen. And then at some point, finally, cops come in and they push out like all of the press, or all the student press. Actually, they eventually start letting mainstream press in, push all the student press in, and people are yelling, who's going to document what happens at Hillman Hall? And they said, nobody right now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like it's just, they're saying it, that's been so much of, I feel like recent politics for me that makes me feel crazy is it's just everybody's saying it now.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting too that like, there's something interesting to me about the way that the media covers the Ivy League specifically. Because obviously the what was going on at Columbia was sort of the main focus of media attention. But it's also worth noting last night that at City College, which is the flagship of CUNY, City University of New York, there was also a police presence that went in there to break up a big protest there as well.
Oh man, I saw the crazy video of everybody with the flares they were like, I think it was, I don't know if they had Roman candles or something to try to get the police away. It was insane.
Yeah. And they were fighting back a little bit. And it's the thing about Columbia too, because I don't know to what extent, your listeners quite kind of know about what the whole deal is with Columbia University.
No. Let's just cover it anyway. It'll be educational if somebody, this was a preview for a Patreon-only episode. So check out the show notes if you want to hear more.